Welcome to another news. I'm Matt Margolis.
And I'm Lauren Weldon, and we are Margolis Weldon. We are estate planning and elder law attorneys, and the goal of Another News is to share information with our viewership that we consider to be timely and relevant.
Today we're here with Jenny Hansen and Laura Cleary, two good friends and colleagues of ours. Together they own Hansen and Cleary LLC. It's a boutique law practice focusing on the representation of children and families, individuals with disabilities, medical and mental health professionals, private schools, and other nonprofit agencies in the greater Chicagoland area and throughout the state of Illinois. Their practice is concentrated in the areas of special education law, school law, mental health law, and other disability law. Jennifer Hansen and Laura Cleary started the firm in June 2017 after practicing in other settings for over 30 years collectively, because they really wanted to bring their common philosophy of client-centered representation to a new practice. Their mission at Hansen and Cleary is to offer the highest quality counsel to families, schools, and organizations, and private clinicians with the most empathetic, attentive, and personalized service possible. They know that it can be highly stressful to engage attorneys to represent families, children, and people's private practices. They're proud to support and guide their clients through the legal process with compassion and resolve. And we're very excited to be here with them today and have them share a little bit about their practice with us and you.
All right, ladies, let's get right into it. So, can you tell us how you help students with special needs in public schools?
Yeah. So for those people who are watching, who are not really familiar, if they've had children and have children who have gone through schools, many of them might have had what are called IEPs or Section 504 plans. So students with special needs can qualify under different laws, federal and state laws, for special services or accommodations if they have a disability. And so what we do is we work within those laws to help families obtain what they feel is appropriate for their kids in school, whether it's a different placement for their child in school, whether it's enhanced services. We do that type of advocacy in the special education realm to help those families. So we directly represent the parents and their kids.
We take kids of all ages, so really anywhere from 3 years old, which is when the federal law begins to apply for children with special education services, all the way through their high school career, which for a child with a disability who qualifies for an IEP could actually be until they turn 22, as long as they have not been issued their diploma. And then even though that federal law does not apply to children when they become young adults and go to college, there are two other laws that do apply, Section 504 and the ADA. And there are times that we have assisted young adults, both in undergrad and also in graduate school, and help them advocate to ensure that they get the right level of accommodations that they require at that level of education.
Are there, I'm sure that a lot of families find themselves in situations where they could benefit from your services and just don't really even realize that they might benefit from the services of an attorney like the two of you. Can you maybe explain a situation or when somebody should reach out or consider reaching out to a lawyer for help when they're feeling sort of helpless in this regard?
Yeah, I'll answer that one first, and then Laura, you can jump in. So there are so many times, Matt, that I would say that parents are reaching out to us for a variety of things. And so right now in the spring, it seems like we get a lot of calls with regard to disciplinary issues. I'm not sure if it's spring fever or why kids seem to commit more disciplinary infractions, but certainly for a discipline case, whether it's a suspension or even a child is potentially facing expulsion, we can assist with that. We also assist with residency issues. Sometimes there's a question of whether or not a parent or a family is a bona fide resident of a school district. And the laws are slightly different for a family who has children that don't qualify for special education services versus if they do qualify. And then when people can reach out with regard to the special ed or Section 504 is if they feel like they're not getting the services that their child needs. Maybe the school district is pushing back and won't qualify their child, make them eligible for either an IEP or a 504 plan, or if they're asking for more services, just increased amount of intensity. Maybe they feel like their child's not making progress. It could be that they have obtained a private evaluation, and over time, it looks like the child is not closing the gap with their neurotypical peers. Or a family is looking for outplacement, whether it's a day school placement for social emotional issues, or a day school placement for academic reasons, or they're looking for residential. Those are all times that I would say that families are often reaching out to us to seek legal support.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jenny just said pretty much everything I would have also replied, but just to maybe to piggyback a tiny bit further, I think this time of year, often May, June is the end of the school year, families will kind of realize, we've done everything that the school has asked us over the past year. We've gone to IEP meetings, we've tried all of the suggestions that the school has said, and my child still isn't making the progress that I believe, and maybe their private providers believe that they can make. And so they'll realize we need to kind of get something different in place for the next school year. And that's also why this time of year is so busy for us, because there are so many kind of end of the year IEP meetings to try to get things set up to have a more successful school year for the following school year.
That's great. I think that's really helpful to know. So I also understand that you guys practice in the area of mental health. Can you just describe a little bit about what that means in your practice?
Yeah, I can kind of start that one. So over the years, we originally started out really doing a lot of special education. And through that practice, we became acquainted with so many mental health providers, because so frequently kids with special needs will have a psychiatrist, perhaps for medication or even counseling. Sometimes they'll have therapists, psychologists, many different mental health providers. And through the work with those individuals to try to help the kids that they were working with, the providers would come to us and ask questions about various areas of mental health within their practice, things like confidentiality, issues with DCFS. And we began developing and there aren't a lot of mental health attorneys out there. And so we developed kind of a niche area where we do represent private providers in the areas of mental health with different aspects of their practice.
Yeah, we really handle all sorts of things. So we work on an as needed basis, right, for our mental health providers. So there's certainly times that maybe we won't hear from a therapist. It could be solo practitioner, it could be a smaller agency, but we won't hear from them for a couple of years, and all of a sudden they'll have something that pops up. I just had a situation where one of our clients had a question about mandated reporting and DCFS involvement, and then potential police involvement, and how to navigate that situation. And so people will call us as needed. Oftentimes our mental health providers get requests from attorneys to get information, mental health records, or they want to talk to the therapist. And what will happen is that release that they receive, that the mental health provider receives, won't be valid, or they get a subpoena, and the attorney may not know that we have this Confidentiality Act in Illinois, which is really one of the strictest confidentiality acts in the country, that really protects the people who receive mental health services. And so we will make sure that either the release is proper or the subpoena is proper. So we do all sorts of things, IDFPR actions, helping our clients maybe file an IDFPR action against an employee or a former employee, variety of things with regard to mental health.
So to clarify on that front, your practice regarding mental health really focuses on providers as opposed to individuals who may come to you and say, I believe that my therapist has violated HIPAA or something like that.
Well, we could help actually, because we know that's a great question, Lauren, because we know the law so well about violations. Absolutely. I mean, I have helped other people file an IDFPR action before against the therapist, obviously not one of our clients, but helped with that because that person did commit, something that was unethical.
Okay, good. All right. Well, that's good to know. So besides your work in the mental health and special education space, how else do you help families?
We do have some issues. So just having done this for so many years, when you have a child with special needs, it sort of touches into other areas of their life. So for example, some of the clients that we represent will sometimes have some issues with juvenile law. Maybe they have a case in juvenile, in one of the juvenile courts. And Jenny, for example, has a really strong background as a public defender. And so she will handle kind of those ancillary matters around juvenile law. We also, our clients, we don't do a lot of work with adults with special needs beyond kind of, as Jenny mentioned, some Section 504 and ADA discrimination type matters. However, we will also work for guardianships. We will obtain guardianships for our clients. Many of our clients, especially those with developmental disabilities or really significant mental health needs, do need some type of a guardianship when they turn the age of 18 because they're unable to make decisions on their own. So that's something that we handle. Is there anything that I'm missing that you can think of, Jenny?
DCFS. So
Oh, yeah.
we have probably a handful, more than a handful of DCFS cases. So often what happens with a child with a disability, especially if they are nonverbal, but even if they're not, a child with a disability, often parents end up getting investigated by DCFS. And it's because teachers, therapists are mandated reporters, and it's not their job to actually investigate whether or not there has been abuse or neglect. And there usually isn't. It's just happens that maybe because of this child's disability, they have more bruises or something like that has happened. And so we will help a family with regard to a DCFS investigation. We know how scary it is to have DCFS just all of a sudden come unannounced to your home and want to talk to you, or maybe go to your child's school and start talking to the child. And so we handle DCFS cases as well, and some powers of attorney. So similar to what Laura was mentioning with regard to guardianship, sometimes the family doesn't actually need to obtain guardianship, but they want to make sure that their child who has a disability, but maybe isn't as significant, can execute a power of attorney or even execute the mental health treatment preference declaration. And then part of our mental health practice too also involves families calling us a lot about voluntary versus involuntary commitment and helping to explain that process to them under the mental health code.
That's really helpful. And yeah, I think it overlaps with some of what we do in terms of the powers of attorney and mental health declarations, obviously for people who are older, who are, needing those services. But yeah, this is all excellent information. Thank you guys for sharing.
Yeah. And we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, which we know is really busy, and especially you said this time of year is really busy. We know we had to pull Jenny out of court this morning for this interview. So thanks again to Laura and Jenny for joining us. We hope all our many viewers enjoyed this interview, and we'll have their information posted below the video, and I'll see you next time for some more news.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Lauren.
Yes, thank you
Thank
both so
you.
much.